Hi, my name is Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're well. Today we have an exciting book haul. So these are all the books that I have acquired over the last few months. A lot of them are second hand and some of them that I have bought new. I have got a few library books that I am going to show you. I only did a library haul a couple of weeks ago and somehow in the last 2 days I've managed to get 4 more library books out without intending to. So I'll show them to you briefly. The first 3 I got out by accident yesterday morning. So I work for a university and I went into the library on the way in to get a coffee. And I thought, oh, I'll just have a quick look at the shelves. And I came away with 3 books. Of course I did. I already have like 8 books out from that library at the moment. So I'll just mention these briefly. I picked up The Silent Cry by Kenzaburo Oe. I don't know how you pronounce that name. I know I should have looked that up. Who has won the Nobel Prize for Literature. I really like this quite striking cover. What made me take this out is there is a quote from Kazuo Ishiguro at the front that says, "An extraordinary work." So I was like, okay, Kazuo, I trust you, so I'm going to borrow this. This is described as the most important Japanese novel of the post-war period and a strange, unsettling tale of the cyclical roll of blood and history down the generations. When was it published? First published in 1967. And I presume this is translated, I think it is, yes, translated from Japanese by John Bester. I'll read the first sentence just to give you an idea of the type of writing. The heading of the chapter is "In the Wake of the Dead." It says, "Awakening in the pre-dawn darkness, I grope among the anguished remnants of dreams that linger in my consciousness in search of some ardent sense of expectation." So I think that sounds really, really good. I think this is going to be something that I need to be in the mood for, so we'll see when I get to it. I also picked up Everything You Ever Wanted by Luiza Saima. This sounds really interesting. So this is a bit of a sort of sci-fi speculative novel about this program called Life on Nyx, which offers people the chance to move to another planet and start a new, meaningful way of life. But there's a caveat: if you go, you can never come back. I'm interested. I also picked up The Sleepwatcher, which I've never heard of before, by Rowan, Hisayo, Buchanan. I thought this sounded good. This is about Kit, who is 16, and she suffers a summer of sleeplessness. So her body lies in bed while she wanders through the family home, the streets of her rundown seaside town and into the houses of friends and strangers. It says it's a moving portrait of family, danger and guilt, captured through the strange summer heat of adolescence. So I thought that sounded really good as well. And then this morning I've just been to the library to take some books back. I didn't have anything to collect, but I just can't help myself looking at the quick reads, not the quick picks section, like right at the front of the library by the checkout things. And there was a book there which has been on my reserve list for quite a few months, at least a couple of months. So I reserve a lot of books, but then I freeze them and then release them or thaw them when I have time to read them, basically. But sometimes if I see a book there that's on my reserve list, even if I've frozen it, I feel like it's fate that it's sitting there waiting for me to just pick it up. So I did pick it up. It's The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. So this sounds intriguing. So this is about a woman who, from her attic in her house, various men who seemingly are each her husband, descend out of the attic, and each one is a different person, different sort of personality traits and everything. It says, when you can change husbands as easily as changing a light bulb, how do you know whether the one you have now is the good enough one or the wrong one or the best one, and how long should you keep trying to find out? So I've heard good things about this. I think it's quite funny. Marion Keyes thinks it's funny, so I imagine it is. It is funny. So yeah, so those are the 4 library books I've accidentally picked up over the last 2 days. So I think I have about 18 books here now to talk about. Most of them are second hand. Some are from charity shops, some have been passed on to me, various other things. So we'll just go through those ones first, and then we'll finish on the ones that I bought new. So if you are a long-time viewer of Jennifer Love Books, you may have noticed that lately I've been collecting some of the Penguin English Library classics. So there's some of them here, vast majority I've been picking up second hand. I mean, I'm only picking up the ones that I'm interested in reading, but I saw one in the Oxfam down the road, which is in good condition, and I thought I would pick it up, and it is Wuthering Heights by Emily Brontë. I really like this cover. This is actually like shorter than I thought. It's less than 400 pages. In my mind, I thought it was a longer book. So my usual rule when I buy books, even second hand, is if I can get it from the library, I will do that instead of buying it, even from a charity shop. Otherwise, it just helps to control the money and the shelf space. So I can get Wuthering Heights from the library, of course I can. However, I feel like having a nice copy like this on my shelf will encourage me to actually pick it up. So my history with this book is I have read at least some of Wuthering Heights before, but I can't remember how much. So I read it as a teenager, probably quite a young teenager. And I remember really struggling with it. I think I struggled with the writing, and I feel like I maybe struggled to follow the plot as well. So I don't know if I made it to the end or if I DNF'd it, but it was definitely one that I didn't ever return to. I reread a lot as a child. So for example, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, I reread several times as a child. But this one I struggled with, but I feel like on paper Wuthering Heights should be like kind of my perfect book because it's full of unlikable characters, it's about obsession, and it's super gothic, and that's all stuff that I really, really like. So I kind of have reasonably high hopes for this. I'm hoping that I really like it. I don't know when I'll get to it because I think this is a book that I want to read in autumn or winter, and I've got a few classics I want to read this year. So possibly not this year, but I'm very happy to own a nice copy. I also have a little collection going on here of the British Library crime classics. So from that same visit actually, I picked up Bats in the Belfry by E.C.R. Lorac. So I did check if my library had this one, and they have it but only in large print. I can't read large print books because it feels like I'm being shouted at. So I got this one out. I didn't even look what the blurb was when I was in the shop until I got home because I just knew like I'm gonna like this. So I can't even remember what this is about. Bruce Attleton dazzled London's literary scene with his first two novels, but his early promise did not bear fruit. His wife is a glittering actress, unforgiving of Bruce's failure, and the couple leave separate lives. When Bruce is called away on a sudden trip to Paris, he vanishes completely until his suitcase and passport are found in a sinister artist's studio, the Belfry, in a crumbling house in Notting Hill. Inspector MacDonald must uncover Bruce's secrets and find out the identity of his mysterious blackmailer. So it sounds good. So E.C.R. Lorac was a pen name of Edith Caroline Rivet, and Lorac is a anagram of Carol. I only know that because my dad pointed it out to me. So yeah, that can get added to the shelf. Something a little bit different is the Penguin Book Quiz. So I was so excited to see this. I love a quiz, especially a bookish quiz. One of my favourite TV programmes is University Challenge. Even though I don't get that many questions right, but the questions that I do get right are about books. So in last week's episode, there was a question on books. And I know one of the questions was about, so the question, I can't remember the wording, but it started off, which book which won the inaugural Women's Prize in whatever year? I immediately was shouting, A Spell of Winter at the TV. And the question goes on, by Helen Dunmore, is called A Spell of What? And the students didn't get it, and I was screaming the answer at the telly, and then I felt very smug when they didn't get it, and I of course got it right. So I love a bookish quiz. It says From the Very Hungry Caterpillar to Ulysses. This was published in 2019, so it's not, I mean, it's not going to be super up to date, but it's not bad, you know what I mean? So yeah, it looks like there's all different types of questions, like first line things, connections, trivia, etc, etc. So that's exciting. I also picked up a short story collection. This is Murder in Midsummer, classic mysteries for the holidays. So maybe I should read this in summer now or next year, I don't know. So our authors included in here are Dorothy L. Sayers, Arthur Conan Doyle, Ruth Rendell, Carter Dixon, G.K. Chesterton, and so on. I do like a short story collection. I have, I don't know if you can see it, but like this part of this shelf is my short story TBR. still from Oxfam, I picked up Brief Lives by Anita Brookner. So I've read one book by Anita Brookner, which was called Look at Me, I think, which I gave 4 stars. I read several years ago now. And this one sounds interesting. I did look up if my library has it. They don't, so I picked it up. It says, Faye Langdon has relinquished her singing career to, and there's a sticker, someone, Owen, a highly successful solicitor. At one of their dinner parties, Faye meets the glamorous, self-obsessed Julia and is destined to join the handful of acolytes who provide Julia with ammunition for her merciless scorn and disapprobation. Sounds good. Sounds like, ooh, intense. What's this? Okay, so this is like at the end of a stub of a cheque from 1993 for £357. There you go. The other, in one of these books, I don't know which one it was, actually, one moment. In one of these second-hand books, I can't remember which one, I found this card, which is an invite, like a ticket, for, God, what do you call it? Graduation from Liverpool University at the Metropolitan Cathedral from 1993. Was it the same? I mean, it could have been. Interesting. Anyway, so yes, I am interested to read more by Anita Brookner, so pleased to see that one. Then, in work, there's various like shelves of used books that people leave and can just pick up. And this book was sitting there, and I looked at it. I was tempted to get it, didn't. And then I walked past it every day for a week. It was still there, so I was like, okay, I need to, it's fate, I need to take this book. And this is The Well of Loneliness by Radclyffe Hall. So this is a book I know I can get from the library. I'm planning on buddy reading this with Tiffany from Tara and TBR later this year. And this copy is like slightly battered, but it's fine. And I feel like when I've read it, if I don't want to keep hold of it, I can just like pass it on to charity or whatever. So this, according to the Irish Times, is the Bible of lesbianism. It was first published in the 1920s and it was banned on publication because of its content. It's about Stephen Gordon, who was named by a father desperate for a son. It says she is not like other girls. She hunts, she fences, she reads books, wears trousers and longs to cut her hair, and she falls passionately in love with another woman. The next 2 books I picked up in the supermarket. There is a little, someone's pulling tongues at me through the window. It's my girlfriend. Yeah, in the supermarket there's a little like second-hand bookshelf thing that people can leave books and pick up, and there's a little charity bucket. So I picked up 2 books, both of which I've read before, but I really wanted these copies. So first is Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin, which I read a few years ago and I loved. It was a 5-star read. I still have not watched the film. I would like to. I mean, you probably know what Rosemary's Baby is about, but it's about a young couple who move into an apartment in New York. They are going to be having a baby, and like there's weird stuff going on. Their neighbours seem a bit strange. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a great horror book. I did have a copy. I had this edition actually, and I lent it to someone. So I thought I would pick up this copy again so I can have it on my shelf for a reread. And I also picked up, and this is exciting, this lovely copy of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is the Virago Modern Classics edition. I have coveted this edition for some time. Actually, one moment. It kind of matches my handbag with like the red flowers and like the swirls, so that's very pleasing. So yeah, Rebecca, love Rebecca, absolute gothic masterpiece, love Daphne du Maurier. I own a copy of Rebecca. Oh, I don't know where it is. Let me see. So the copy of Rebecca I own is in this, it's in this edition. This is my cousin Rachel, but it's in like the same edition as this, which is nice, but I just really like that, and I couldn't resist picking that up when I saw it on the charity table. A few more second-hand ones now, 5 more actually. So the next three I picked up from a book fair that I go to. I go to a couple of book fairs regularly with my dad, and I got some good books from there recently. This is Trumpet by Jackie Kay. This is from 1998. This is one I've been interested in reading for a little while. It's about Joss Moody, who is a jazz trumpeter who pretended to be a man and even had a wife and a foster child who called her dad. The story begins in the aftermath of the famous trumpeter's death and is told by different characters in turn. The book is all about love. Yeah, it sounds good. It's a very, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a very well renowned novel, so I am really interested in that one. And I picked up two books by Jose Saramago, which were from the same bookseller at the book fair, but on different occasions. So either the bookseller likes Saramago or has just acquired a number of his books. So I picked up Death at Intervals and The Double. So I've read one Saramago, which was Blindness, which I read at the start of 2020, which is about a pandemic. So reading that at the start of 2020 was interesting, to say the least, but I really enjoyed it. And I do have another Saramago on my shelf that I'm planning on reading later this year. That's Seeing. But these two, so Death at Intervals is in an unnamed country on the first day of the new year, people stop dying. Amid the general public, there was great celebration, flags are hung out on balconies and people dance in the streets. They have achieved the great goal of humanity, eternal life. Death is on a strike. Death does return eventually, but with a new, courteous approach, delivering violet warning letters to her victims. But what can death do when a letter is unexpectedly returned? I mean, it just sounds excellent, doesn't it? This is translated from Portuguese by Margaret Jewel Costa. I'm learning Portuguese at the moment. I wonder if I will ever be good enough to read Saramago in Portuguese. And then The Double is probably translated by the same person, Margaret Jewel Costa. This is about a man who is watching a rented video and he's shocked to realise that one of the actors is identical to him in every physical detail. He embarks on a secret quest to find his double and sets in motion a train of events that he cannot control. That sounds great as well. I do think Saramago's got some, I say I haven't only read one of his books, really interesting concepts within his novels. So yeah, excited for those. Next is a book that was passed on to me from my girlfriend's mum. This is A Maggot by John Fowles. So I've read two John Fowles books in the past. I read The Collector years ago, which I really enjoyed, and I read The Magus a few years ago, which was amazing. That was a 5-star read, one of my favourite books of the year. I love The Magus so much. A Maggot is one that I've not heard of. I think this author's most famous book is The French Lieutenant's Woman, which I haven't read. But this sounds excellent. So it says, in the spring of 1736, 4 men and 1 woman, all travelling under assumed names, are crossing the Devonshire countryside en route to a mysterious rendezvous. Before their journey ends, one of them will be hanged, one will vanish, and the others will face a murder trial. It says, out of the truths and lies that envelop these events, John Fowles has created a novel that is at once a tale of erotic obsession, an exploration of the conflict between reason and superstition, an astonishing act of literary legerdemain. I'm going to look up that word after because I don't know what that means. And the story of the birth of a new faith. So it sounds excellent. Very excited for that. And then the final sort of second-hand one was passed on to me by my lovely friend Charlie from Charlie Book Reads. And this is Nevada by Imogen Binnie, which I think I was tangentially aware of, but didn't really know much about. It's blurbed. This edition is blurbed by Tori Peters, and it says Maria is a young trans woman who, after several years of personal and professional failures in Bohemian New York, is embarking on her version of the Great American Road Trip. So I think this is meant to be sort of quite a cult classic, which I'm looking forward to. Okay, so those are all the second-hand books. I have 6 books that I bought new. This one I'm very excited for. This is Chlorine by Jade Song. I love this cover. I think this is amazing. So this is a book that was on my radar as one I thought I was interested in, but then I heard Kirsten from Reading Nymph talk about this book and review, and I know she really enjoyed it. and everything Kirsten said about it made me think I'm going to love this book. I will link Kirsten's channel down below. I only discovered Kirsten's channel earlier this year, and Kirsten does the best cozy reading vlogs. They are so good, honestly, so if you haven't checked out Reading Nymph, please do so. So Chlorine is about Ren Yu, who is a swimmer. Her daily life starts and ends with the pool. It says she grew up on stories of creatures of the deep, of creatures dangerous, powerful, liberated. The creature that she has always longed to become, a mermaid. So I think it's, yeah, sort of a story of like coming of age. I think there's some body horror in here. It just sounds really like my kind of thing, so that's very exciting. I also got The No Mask Murder by Akimitsu Takagi. I read The Tattoo Murder a few months ago and enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. But I wanted to pick up this other one by the author because it just sounded really interesting. So this is from, when was this from? First published in 1951, and it's translated from Japanese by Jessie Kirkwood. So in this one, it says, death and madness have haunted the Chizui family for years. Now a strange figure has been seen wandering their mansion at night, wearing a sinister no mask that is said to bear a centuries-old curse. And I believe the detective in the book is like talks. Do they talk to the reader? What? There's something interesting. No, I know what it is. I think the author inserts himself into the novel. I think that's what I heard, which I quite like when that happens in a murder mystery. And this is also a locked room mystery, which, as you may know, is one of my favourite things. This is a lot shorter than The Tattoo Murder. I think one of my issues with The Tattoo Murder was it was a bit longer than it needed to be, I felt. This is much shorter, so that sounds really good. Next is a book that I have picked up several times in the bookshelf and been interested in reading, but something's always held me back. It's a super popular book, but I think my concern maybe was that it would be a bit too dense for me, but I did pick it up in the end. This is Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. I believe that's how it's pronounced. So this is translated from Polish by Antonia Lloyd-Jones. So this is about an eccentric woman in her 60s who lives in a remote Polish village. She is recounting the events surrounding the disappearance of her 2 dogs. I think there's a murder mystery. Yeah, when members of a local hunting club are found murdered, she becomes involved in the investigation. It's an existential thriller. That sounds interesting. Looking at perceptions of madness, injustice against marginalised people, animal rights, hypocrisy of traditional religion, belief in predestination. It caused a genuine political uproar in Poland. Okay, that's interesting. This is like a really narrow book. I've got other, let me see. So by comparison, this is another like Fitzcarraldo, and that's, see how like narrow it is? So it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't hate it, but yeah. And then like it's got like a lot of white space at the bottom. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, I've heard this compared to Death in Her Hands by Tesha Moshfegh, which I really liked. So we'll see. Next up. So far this year, I've only had 1 5-star read. I don't know what that's about. Not including rereads, but in terms of new to me books, 1 5-star read, which was a book I read in January called Falling Animals by Sheila Armstrong. I did a review video, I will link down below. And so I picked up How to Gut a Fish, which is a short story collection by Sheila Armstrong, which had been published before Falling Animals. And I mean, I just picked it up because I love Falling Animals so much. Should we see? So it says it's a dazzling and disquieting collection of stories. It places the bizarre besides the everyday and then elegantly and expertly blurs the lines. That sounds like my kind of short story collection. This is a lovely cover. This is Lost in the Garden by Adam S. Leslie. This is published by Dead Ink Books, who are an independent publisher based in Liverpool. This is quite a chunky book and it sounds amazing. So it's about 3 friends who are going to Almonby. Heather needs to find her boyfriend, who, like so many, went and never came back. Rachel has a mysterious package to deliver and her life depends on it, and Antonia, poor love-struck Antonia, just wants the chance to spend the day with Heather. So I think, so it says creepy, dreamlike, unsettling and unforgettable. You are about to join the privileged two who come to understand exactly why we don't go to Almond B. So I think there's some like folklore thing about why people don't go to Almond B, but these three characters are going to break the rules and go there, and I think some spooky stuff is going to happen. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Oh, and I have a matching bookmark as well. Final book is The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. Annoyingly, I saw this in my work library the other day, and if I knew it was there, I would have got it. But I mean, I'm hoping that I really like this, and I'm happy to reread it. This is a very nice edition. So I was inspired to buy this by a couple of booktubers. I think Kirsten from Reading Nymph read it and really enjoyed it, and Amelia from Amelia Barlow Books as well. I'll link both channels down below. What in particular interests me about this is the narrative voice. So I think it's told in first person plural, so in like a choral we voice. So this is about the 5 Lisbon sisters, beautiful, eccentric and now gone. They'd always been a point of obsession over the entire neighbourhood. I believe they all, one by one, die by suicide. I am a little bit nervous about the sort of the subject matter, but my interest is outweighing my nervousness, so I'm going to give it a go. So yeah, the question persists, why did all 5 of the Lisbon girls take their own life? It says it's a lyrical and timeless tale of sex and suicide that transforms and mythologises suburban middle American life. So I'm interested in this. I think the narrative voice, I'm quite interested in books that sort of do something a bit different with narrative voice. So I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in how that frames the story. So it's told from, I haven't even specified, have I? It's told from the boys in the neighbourhood, I believe, in this like choral voice. So I'm interested in how that narrative framing through their eyes depicts the lives of these girls through, I guess, the male gaze. So yeah, very much looking forward to this, but again, one I will need to be in the right mood for. So those are all the books that I have acquired over the last few months. So what I do when I buy books before I film a book haul is I keep them on the top shelf up there, and then once I've filmed the haul, I can then integrate the books into their respective shelves depending on sort of what genre they are, etc. So I'm very excited to now be able to put them in their rightful places on these shelves. Do let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them, if there's any you think I should prioritise. Let me know any new books you've picked up recently or any recommendations that you have for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.